Okay, well, today, or if you're probably watching this tomorrow, so yesterday, The Dark Knight Rises opened. P.S. Rest in peace to all 12 people who died in that Colorado shooting. But anyway, with the release of Christopher Nolan's last Batman movie, it got me thinking that maybe I should go through all his previous movies, since he is probably one of the most important people, well-known people in Hollywood right now. Now, Christopher Nolan, I don't think it's possible to hate him. I love him, and I love him as a director. I hate the fact that he's regarded as the greatest director pretty much ever. Like, I swear, if I looked up Church of Nolan on Google, I'm pretty sure I would come across some religion for him. But anyway, enough with that. Let's just move on to all his movies in anticipation for The Dark Knight Rises, which I won't be able to see until Monday. I'm actually staying away from all forms of reviews and spoilers. Of course, that's impossible. I've seen a few, and from what I hear, it's actually really, really good. But okay, first up is Following. This is the only one I don't own, and Following does have some interesting ideas, and certainly isn't a bad movie. It's just kind of boring and very forgettable. I watched this movie for the second time yesterday, and I've pretty much forgotten everything about it. It's definitely my least favorite Nolan movie to date. He basically does the same thing he did with Memento and make it a non-linear style, like jump from scene to scene. And for this one, I just didn't feel like it was needed. I don't know why. It just didn't seem necessary. Although I really did like the twist ending. Like, that was awesome. The acting's good. It has some neat ideas. But for the most part, I was just uninterested. Not a bad movie. I'd give it a 5.5 in terms of just my feelings towards it. The movie itself is probably a little better than that, but whatever. You guys don't want to hear about Following. You want to hear about Memento. I love Memento. It's not only my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. In my opinion, this is his masterpiece. The one that I can just watch anytime and not be bored of it. If I really can't think of anything wrong with it, I guess it can be a little confusing at times, and at times the narration may seem unneeded, but really that's about it. The best part of this movie is the way it's shown. In Following, I didn't feel that telling it in a non-linear sequence was necessary. But in here it works perfectly. It builds up this mystery, and when it finally ends, you're like, oh my god. In fact, that actually gives it a lot of rewatch value. I've rewatched this several times, and I'm still not 100% sure what happened. The acting, great all around. Teddy was hilarious at times, just downright hilarious. The cinematography, editing, both excellent. In fact, I just don't feel like talking about it because I might spoil something, but believe me, Memento is a 10 out of 10 movie. Nolan's best flick. Please, if you have not seen it, go watch it. Okay, next came Insomnia. Now this is the movie that, when people rank their Christopher Nolan movies, this is the one they rank at the bottom. Personally, I think they just do that because this is the only one he didn't write. And it's like, well, we gotta pick one for the bottom. Might as well pick the one he wasn't 100% involved in. I actually really enjoyed this. I'd say it's one of his best, or at least higher up. Like, it's probably in the middle, but high up in the middle. Really, the only problem I have is that it's just kind of forgettable. I saw this movie once, actually. It's been a while since I've seen it, and basically, that's it. That's the only problem, is that it's just kind of forgettable. From what I remember, it had really good suspense. I was always wondering how it was going to end. So in a way, being forgettable actually helps this movie, because each time you'll be able to go in and enjoy the suspense. The acting, really good. Robin Williams was actually kind of fucking scary at times. It was shot really well, and it's basically just a really good movie. It's entertaining, it's got good suspense, it's got good acting, it's just really good. I give it an 8 out of 10. Alright, this is the one where it's like, okay, this guy's worth noting. Batman Begins. This is actually one of the few times in which I actually saw the sequel first. I actually watched The Dark Knight first, and that might be why I didn't enjoy this movie as much as everybody else. I'm not a huge fan of superhero origin stories. To me, there's way too much talking and exposition. And then the sequels would handle the action and thus be more entertaining. And that is a really good example here. Like, there's action, but it is horrible. I'm sorry, the action scenes are so badly shot in this. I mean, there's up-close shaky in other movies, but this, I swear, half the time I could not tell what was happening on screen. The backstory was pretty interesting, I'll give the movie that, but do we need to spend half the movie on it? Yeah, I get that we have to learn how Bruce Wayne became Batman, but I swear 20% of this movie is flashback. Overall, its biggest fault is that it's just not very interesting, but it's not a bad movie. For all its faults, it does do some things extremely well. Like I said, I really liked Bruce's backstory, I just didn't feel we needed to spend half the movie on it. A few of the characters were really interesting. Alfred is the most awesome butler ever. I really like Gordon. Fox, played by Morgan Freeman. And I really liked Scarecrow, or Dr. Malcolm Crowe. Sorry, not Crow, Crane. I actually thought Scarecrow was a much more interesting villain than Ra's al Ghul. Looks great, acting's good. Unlike Dark Knight, Christian Bale wasn't doing quite this voice. It didn't get this bad until The Dark Knight. And there's even a few funny lines here and there. So overall, it's not a bad movie. I'd say it's okay. It was decent. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Okay, 2006 came Prestige. This is the perfect example of a movie that has good build-up but a very disappointing conclusion. I'm going to start with the stuff I liked this time. Acting, great. I really thought that Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman really hated each other. The direction is actually some of the best Christopher Nolan's done. This is probably his most beautiful looking movie. It has a good plot, although a little far-fetched for late 19th century or something. I think it was the late 19th century. I haven't seen this in a while, but yeah, it has great production value. I always thought they were in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. Even with, well, except for Tesla in the middle. I won't spoil who that is. But overall, it works really well for most of it until we hit the ending. Now, I actually knew the twist ending for this movie before I saw it. So I was actually looking for clues, and what I learned is that the twist ending for this movie doesn't make any damn sense. If any of you can explain it to me, go ahead, but no, it's not even a twist, it's more like a gotcha. It's like a cheap jump scare where someone just says boo. That's this twist ending. No lead up. The twist is just there so the movie could feel more cool than it needs to be. So yeah, I'd give this movie a 7 out of 10. It is a pretty good movie, worth seeing. Starts off strong, but then just leads to a very disappointing conclusion. Here we go. The Dark Knight. This is that movie. Like, everyone's like, oh my god, that movie was amazing. This guy is like, oh god. Okay. But, I think the movie is great. I think it's a great movie, but I think it's a little overrated. If you saw my review of it, basically the best thing I could do is just say, go and watch that. But basically my biggest problem is that at points it felt a little contrived. Like something should have happened, but it didn't, just so the plot could move along. I thought the Joker should have been shot by those mobsters. I thought Harvey should have killed the Joker. Like, the Joker should have died, like, twice before the movie ended. And sometimes it stretches the suspension of disbelief way too hard. I'm sorry, I don't care how much padding you have on that suit, you can't survive a drop that big. If you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. But overall, it looks great. I really love the Joker. Like, yeah, that's something that completely is not overhyped. The Joker was amazing in that movie. I loved the opening scene. Dent's descent into madness felt extremely natural. I'd give this movie an 8.5. Like I said, if it wasn't regarded as the greatest film achievement since the invention of film itself, then it might have ranked higher. And here we are. This is the movie that pretty much solidified Christopher Nolan as the greatest human being on the planet since Franklin Roosevelt got us out of the Great Depression. Inception. Okay, bad things, not much. It's hard to follow at times, which isn't always a bad thing. But sometimes it can be really annoying in how confusing it is. Like, Christopher Nolan's just sitting there trying way too hard to make it confusing just so it'll seem more important. Also, some of the characters are forgettable, and it has a few pacing issues. Other than that, great movie. It has some great ideas and pulls them off extremely well. Like, it makes you think hard too. Like, I never realized that, yes, I always remember the middle and end of a dream, but never the beginning. It takes full advantage of its premise, creating so many things that can only happen in a dream. I actually really liked the main character and really wanted him to see his kids. But yeah, acting was great, effects were amazing, great mix of CGI and practical. Score by Hans Zimmer was fantastic. It's pretty funny at times, and it's just a fun movie to watch. It's a summer blockbuster that's really, really smart. It's my second favorite movie after Memento. I would give it a 9. Like, it's not perfect, but it is pretty close. So yes, despite all that sort of complaining I did, I really do love Christopher Nolan's directing, and he seems like a really nice guy. He's like my second favorite director after Steven Spielberg, so I like his movies a lot. I just don't think he's the greatest thing ever. And I don't think anyone else should. What would happen if he made a bad movie? Or even a disappointing movie? So overall, yes, Christopher Nolan, easily one of the best directors working today. So if you want to know my order, there it is. And I am actually really excited for The Dark Knight Rises. Sorry this review was a little just kind of sporadic and stuff. I'm pretty much doing this unscripted. I don't have much time. So, yeah. I don't really know how to end this, so, I'm just gonna put in Inception score.